Welcome back. This is John Locke, and today we're answering the question, should you use ThomasNet? Now, for those who don't know, ThomasNet is, the closest way to say it is it's basically Yelp for manufacturing firms, or it's a big directory of manufacturing firms. Basically, you have free profiles, you have paid profiles, and basically a lot of people go there to source a vendor or someone to create like products for them, or to just basically source what they need. And we're going to look in this video, we're going to look at some of the advantages and disadvantages of using ThomasNet. Is it good for SEO? Will you get leads from it? Should you use it to help with your lead generation? So let's dive right into it. Pros of ThomasNet. So one of the biggest things that we talked about just a few days ago with piggyback SEO, which is where you get on a platform that ranks, that's not your own website, and you basically leverage their own SEO to generate leads. ThomasNet is one of these for manufacturing firms. And one of the pros of this is you can get a free profile on there. Though if you do get a free profile, the salespeople are basically going to try and pressure you right away into getting a premium listing. But you can get a free profile, and I do encourage you to do this because Google does expect to see you there, which we'll talk about in a minute. But it seems to rank better than some of the other places in natural SEO, meaning if you Google for whatever it is that you're trying to rank for, CNC machining, or whatever, maybe you supply fasteners, no matter what it is, it tends to show up there higher than some of the other manufacturing directories and marketplaces that are out there. Notably, MFG, Zycon, and IQS are the other ones that seem to show up from time to time, or the ones that are large and have been established. Now, I see IQS from time to time in there. Probably most people either source from MFG or ThomasNet. IQS is probably like third. Zycon is a good one to be on, but ThomasNet is the one that ranks the best out of these, that from what I have seen with my own eyes. So that's probably the best place to piggyback SEO and get an extra placement in a category for whatever you're trying to rank for. Now, another advantage of using ThomasNet is this feature that they have called web tracks. Now, basically what this is a little piece of code similar to Google Analytics. It's a little piece of code that you put in your site. And what it does is, if somebody's on their company computer or the company premises and they're on that network, this can detect what companies actually went to your website. Now, it can't tell you the exact email or the exact person that was there, so you're still going to have to try and figure this out. So you can use services like hunter.io to try and figure out like email addresses. And it still might be a little bit awkward to go and try and approach that company after they've been on your site, because that's a little creepy. But you can get an idea of what companies have actually been to your site through this feature called web tracks. So that's an advantage. The other thing that is an advantage is people who are on ThomasNet, they're looking to source vendors. So if they're on there, they're basically looking for someone to be a supplier, a vendor, a manufacturer in the background for them. So similar to Yelp, if somebody's on there, they're looking for a service, they're looking for someone, and they're just they're looking to purchase. The same thing in that local SEO situation it is for ThomasNet with manufacturing, meaning that people are going there looking to choose a vendor. All right, so here's some of the cons to being on ThomasNet. For one, they're going to try and sign you into a long-term contract. Now, I did mention that they allow you to have a free profile for one category, but what they're going to try and do is sign you up for a long-term contract where you pay for different categories. And web designers in the house, if you've ever been on UpCity, it's very similar to that, where the more you pay, the more categories you're placed in, and that you're placed at the top of the page. And they basically spin like words in the categories to make more categories, more landing pages. And so they're going to try and sell you on these different categories. And I think the long-term contracts are a year. So it might be shorter than that, but the last time that I talked to somebody, I think that their contracts were a year. That's what they're going to try and sign you up to. So if you're paying for a listing there, it's going to be quite a bit of money. So that is a con. The salespeople are a little bit aggressive with that, so they might have targets to hit too. The leads are a little bit hit and miss. Now, I've talked to different people, and some people say that they do get leads from ThomasNet that are fine. Some people have said that the leads that they get are a little bit weak. And I've talked to people that said that they made their money back from this investment and they got an ROI out of it, a return on investment. And I've talked to some people that said that they did not make their money back on the year-long contract, and they did not break even with this. So really think about whether you want to do this. And we're going to talk about like one way to try and figure out if it is worth an investment here in just a second. But basically, they're going to try and make you pay for extra categories. Now, the neutral, not the pro or con, but the neutral thing, they're not there for every ranking term. They are there for quite a few, but they're not there for every single ranking term. Not everything that they have a category for, they rank on page 1 for. And that's one of the things that you should really, really, really look at is before you pay for any category, actually Google it and see if they're in the page 1 of Google for that term. Now, if they are, then that is a good landing page to piggyback SEO off of, meaning that not only are you trying to rank your own site, but you're trying to get a high placement on that other page, that landing page that's in page 1 for ThomasNet, because some people will click that. So do Google it, because if you're paying for categories and they're not on page 1, if they're on like page 3 or 4, then it's kind of a waste of time to pay for that, because not many people are clicking all the way down to page 3 or 4. So make sure they're on page 1 for that category before you pay for it. The other thing that's kind of neutral with this is Google does expect to see you there. Now, the links from the profile are what we call no follow. They don't pass page rank. But similar to a lot of the social media profiles or other profiles out there, those links are no follow. Now, I don't believe that that really affects much, but it is one of those sites where if you're doing serious marketing and you're trying to promote your services in your website, this is one of those sites in manufacturing that Google expects to see you on. So it probably one of the most primary ones that they expect to see you on. Now, I do have a list. I'll link it down below, but it's a list of 11 directories for manufacturing. And there might be other ones like in your state that have programs where you could be on there. But some of the big ones are ThomasNet, MFG, Zycon, IQS, Process Register, Compass. I think there's a couple other ones too that I listed there. But the ThomasNet is one of the main ones. Google expects to see you there. It's not going, just being on there alone is not going to boost your SEO a ton. You're going to need to get other links, and you're going to need to have be in other places and have other profiles in all different places. But that's one that you should definitely start with. So should you do it? Like I mentioned, some people that I've talked to have made money off of it, and some people haven't. But I think the big determining factor is really, can you piggyback SEO off of it? So do look at the terms that you're trying to rank for. They're going to try and say like, oh, here's all the categories you should be in. But before you sign anything and before you enter into a contract with them, make sure that they are actually ranking for those terms. So if you Google those terms, if you do not see their listing on page 1, then don't pay for it, because it's not likely that you're going to do it. Now, if the terms that you're trying to rank for, they have landing pages that are on page 1, maybe very high on page 2, but looking for page 1 primarily, then that would be a good investment, because you can piggyback off of their placement in page 1 of Google. That is really the determining factor for me. The other thing would be, what is your profit margin on what you're selling? Now, if you have a high profit margin on whatever it is that you're trying to sell, then maybe getting a listing there would make a lot of sense. Now, some manufacturers, I know what they sell is maybe small items. They do like little, smaller items like fasteners, like what I said. Maybe, you sell like emblems, like I know that one manufacturer I talked to, they sell emblems to different car manufacturers and appliance manufacturers, and they don't make a lot of money off it. So getting on ThomasNet might not make a lot of sense for them, but it all depends. You have to try it. My advice is just try a year with them if this is something that you want to do. You can do a free profile, but if you're going to do it, try like 1 year with like, the minimum like categories that they're going to like let you get out the door with. Don't sink a ton of money into it until you see what you actually get from that first long-term contract. Now, if you do end up getting like some good qualified leads and they turn into business, then maybe continue doing that for the subsequent years. But if the leads that you're getting are not really that great, just stick with the free profile. Now, it's definitely a profile that you should have if you're a manufacturing company, and there's other ones out there as well. Some are free and some are paid, but whether you should pay for it or not, that's really going to depend. Take a chance on it and see what you get from that first year. If you don't get anything good, if you don't break even, then don't keep doing it. But if you are able to make money off of it, then continue doing it. That is my advice to you. I hope that makes sense. Check out the other video that we did on piggyback SEO, and that will explain some of the concepts that we're talking about here. Hey, I'm John Locke. I'm here every day making videos on SEO, particularly manufacturing and industrial. And I would love to see you subscribe. That is all I have for this video. Have a question, leave it in the comments below. And until next time, peace.